So we are about 2 weeks into the NHL season, and one of the teams that I would say is actually really surprised a lot of people with the way they've played to start the season is the Minnesota Wild. They have not trailed once at all in their first 6 games and are 4-0-2, have 10 points, and are 5th in the National Hockey League. Now, again, I want to give a little bit of an asterisk because it's early. It's still pretty early in the season. There's a long way to go, a lot of runway. But seeing Minnesota, a team that started off last season really down. It was a rough start to the season last year. Seeing them start off good is pretty good if you're a Minnesota Wild fan, I would have to say. So, again, as I said, 4-0-2. Their only losses have come in overtime and a shootout as well. But that means that they have gotten points in each of their first 6 games, which you can't help but be happy about that if you're a Wild fan. You can't deny that. Again, last year they struggled heavily at the start of the season. They picked it up in the second half of the season, firing Dean Evason and bringing in John Hynes, but obviously it was not good enough to get into the playoffs as they were fighting with a few Central teams, and then Vegas ended up just taking the last spot. It wasn't close. It wasn't. But honestly, I thought that through those last couple of games they played, I thought they looked pretty good. Again, there was that whole controversy with them, pulling the goalie in overtime and then not gaining points off because of that. And obviously, it ended in not such a good way. But obviously, the start of the season this year has been terrific for the Wild, and you can't help but be happy about that 100%. So let's go game by game here instead of just kind of talking about them. So you start off against Columbus. Dean Evason, your former coach you're playing against, you win 3-2. Nice win. I mean, you don't trail in that game. You hold the lead. I think they did a very good job. Gotta say. The next game, 5-4 shootout loss against Seattle. However, obviously a shootout loss means you get a point, even though you lost. So, obviously, that does mean that, they still keep their point streak alive, and they're doing pretty good. Next game, lose 2-1 in overtime to Winnipeg. It was a close one, 100%. Winnipeg came back at the end and won that one in extra time, but you get a point. That's good. And then after that is when they really started winning. They win 4-1 against St. Louis, which is a very good win, divisional rival, a team that you are going to be battling with, I'm sure, at the end of the season to get into the playoffs. Then they beat Columbus, again, 3-1. So, another good win there. And then last night in the Frozen Frenzy, they win 5-1 against Florida. So, in a game where some people picked them to lose and thought that this little impressive streak was going to end, nope. They are a 4-0-2 record to start the season, and I think that is very impressive. Now, again, you ask the question, well, are they playing really good teams, Nordic? That's, I guess, the question you can ask. Well, it's a mix of yes and no. The games they have lost, Seattle has been solid so far, and Winnipeg is undefeated. So you can keep that in mind. The teams they have beat, Columbus, not that great. So, you can look at those 2 games and be like, those are, easy wins for the team. And then Florida is a very good team. St. Louis looks very good to start the season. So I would say that they have had their fair share of good teams and not so good teams in their schedule, but they're winning most of them. They're winning those games, which I think you have to be very happy about if you're a Wild fan. You can say, oh, it's a bad team, but, you look at last night, like against Toronto and Columbus, it happens. Those bad losses happen. And again, we talk about every single season with a lot of teams. The start of the season is really important. And for Minnesota to start off like this, again, it is early. They could easily fall off. Not saying they will, but they could. Any team could. It does make you happy to see this, especially with last year and this team really struggling out of the gate. So, again, very happy if you're a Wild fan right now. Now, let's look at the stat line. Who's scoring the goals? Who's racking up the points? Well, it's the usual suspects. Kirill Kaprizov leads this team in scoring with 2 goals, 8 assists for 10 points in 6 games played. I would say those are great stat lines for Kaprizov. I mean, again, we talk about how at the beginning of the season there was that, or I guess it was towards the beginning of the season, there was that rumor of Kaprizov maybe wanting to go over and play for Chicago at the end of his contract. Well, him starting off hot like this is only going to make his money rise higher, or his, I guess, floor for his contract rise higher, I guess is a better way of wording it. But again, seeing Kaprizov off to a great start like this is terrific. Matt Boldy, one of their young players as well, also has a pretty good start to the year. 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. He's also looked collectively impressive as well. You can't help but be happy about that either. Zuccarello, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. So good stat line there too from an older player like Zuccarello. Again, line mates of Kaprizov playing very well alongside him. There's a reason why Kaprizov has 8 assists. Rossi, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. He also looks impressive too. Again, that's your young core. Besides, I guess, Zuccarello, that is your core for this Wild future. And you see them, build up with these draft capital and these draft prospects, and seeing them start off hot like this, it's exciting. It is very exciting for what this team has for the future. And again, you got to bring it up every Wild video. That Parise and Sutter contract that they've been paying for the last, few years, that's done after this season. And they're going to have a lot more money to really kind of make things work and do some moves that they want to make that maybe they couldn't have done had they had that Parise and Sutter deal. So, again, you're really excited right now if you're a Wild fan. 100%. You start off hot like this. It's the last year of the Parise and Sutter deal. You're over the moon. Jake Middleton, another guy who has looked good, a defenseman who has had a great story into the NHL. 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points to start the season too. So those are good numbers as well. Joel Eriksson Ek, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. Also looks solid. Jonas Brodin and Brock Faber both have 3 assists to start their campaigns. So those are good numbers as well. And then Marcus Johansson, in 6 games played, has 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. So you're getting goals from all around your lineup. You're getting points from all around your lineup. You need that. You need that depth to really convert. And so far it has. And you can't help but be happy about that if you're a Wild fan, for sure. Now, the goaltending is where it's interesting. The goaltending last year was a big component in why this team really struggled at the start of the season. There were talks about maybe possibly moving on from Gustafsson, maybe even moving on from Fleury, who is in his last year of his NHL career. And bringing up that prospect down below, Jesper Wallstedt, who also looks pretty damn good. Well, Philip Gustafsson's making it very difficult right now for them to do that, as he has a 4-0-1 record, a 1.40 goals against average, and a .952 save percentage with the Wild so far. Again, that's in 5 games. Not a lot of, it's not a very long amount of time, but still, those are great numbers to start off. And I think that that's terrific for Minnesota with what they want to do, and especially the goaltending having a good start this year compared to what was not so good last year. That's great. That is honestly great. Now, Fleury, he's also played 1 game, has a 0-1, has a 3.72 and a .882. Again, that is in only 1 game played in an overtime loss. So, again, you take that with a grain of salt, I guess, because it's still only 1 game played. But your goaltending right now looks terrific. And I'd be very happy about that right now if I'm a Wild fan. You look in terms of goaltending around the NHL, you see some of the some of the goalies in this division struggling, like Connor Ingram in Utah, Alex Georgiev in Colorado. You see them struggling right now, and now you see Gustafsson off to a good start. That's terrific. That is great. And it's a good start, really, for the Minnesota Wild for sure. Now, let's take a look at what their schedule is going to look like in October and into November as well, because can they keep this up is the biggest question right now. And you get to the point where you get a lot of games into this streak that they're on, and you're kind of like, yeah, it's going to happen at some point. It's going to happen at some point. I don't know, though. They have a decent schedule coming up. A lot of it's on the road to end October. They play Tampa Bay on Thursday, I believe. So tomorrow, when you guys may see this video, the game might already be played. But regardless, they're in that Florida trip. Then they go to Philadelphia. Then they go to Pittsburgh to wrap up October. So they do that little Pennsylvania back-to-back stint or whatever. Then into November, they have a homestand to start. They play Tampa, Toronto, and Los Angeles. And then they go on that California road trip and play San Jose and Anaheim to get to the middle of November. And then it's followed up by the Kings and a few other teams on that trip as well. But overall, you can't help but be happy about the start of the wild season they've had. You can't help but be happy. Again, as I said, last year was a really rough year for them, especially at the start of the year. And seeing them start off strong has to make this team very happy. But again, we'll see if it's enough to get them into the playoffs. Because again, it's a tough season. Only 6 games in. Might be overreacting, but hopefully it works out. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the Minnesota Wild. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. And we are actually pretty close to 3,000 subscribers, so I would appreciate a sub. Be great. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.